Now, the revision of polity starts with the chronicle order under two major headings. The first heading is the company's rule, and the second is Crown's rule. The company's rule 1773 to 1858 and the Crown's rule from 1858 to 1947. So we will start the company's rule first, 1773 to 1858. So now our first chapter is about company's rule. First, Regulating Act of 1773. It laid down the foundation of a central administration in India. Governor of Bengal as a Governor General of Bengal. First Governor General of Bengal was Lord Warren Hastings. Two subordinate presidencies were also come under the Bengal, which was Bombay and Madras. It established the Court of Calcutta in 1774 and comprises one Chief Justice and three other judges. It also strengthened the control of British over the company by requiring the Court of Directors. It is a type of governing body of a company, and Code of Directors were introduced to report on its revenue, civil and military affairs in India. Now the Act of Settlement 1781. It exempted the Governor General and Council from the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court, and also it exempted the servants of the company from jurisdiction over the Supreme Court. Now Pitt's India Act of 1784. It established a system of double government in India. It distinguished between the commercial and the political matters. Courts of directors to manage the commercial official, but a new body was also created by the British in Pitt's India Act that was called the Board of Control to manage the political affairs, and also it empowered the Board of Control to supervise and direct all operations of a civil and military government revenue of the British possession in India. So, in starting, they have only Code of Directors, which was to manage the commercial affairs, but a new body was created by the British, which was Board of Control. It was created to manage the political affairs in India. So, now the next thing is about Charter Act of 1793. It just extended the overriding power which was given to the Lord Cornwallis over the council. Now the next is about Charter Act of 1813. It abolished the trade monopoly of the company. Indian trade was thrown open to all British merchants. However, it continued the monopoly of the company over trade in tea and the trade with China. It also asserted the British Crown sovereignty over the companies. It allowed the Christian missions to come in India. It spread the Western education among the inhabitants, the British territory in India. Okay, it also authorized the local government to impose some taxes to the local person. Now is all about Charter Act of 1833. This act was final step toward the centralization. It made the Governor General of Bengal as the Governor General of India, and the Lord William Bating was the first Governor General of India. It ended the commercial body, which became purely administrative body. It attempted to introduce a system of open competition for selection of a civil servant as the Indian should be allowed to, but this provision was negated after opposition from the Court of Directors. Now the Charter Act of 1853. This was the last of a series of Charter Acts passed by the British Parliament between 1793 and 1853. For the memorizing purpose, the chronological order of a charter acts could be like this: from 1773 to 1793, 1793 to 1813, 1813 to 1833, and from 1833 to 1858. There was 20 years gap between each charter act. Okay, the Charter Act of 1853, it separated the legislative and the executive functions of the Governor Council, and it also provided for the addition of a six new members that was called the legislative councillors to the council. In other words, the Indian legislative councils, which were also known as the mini parliament, it introduced the competition system for the civil servant in India. Accordingly, the Macaulay Committee was appointed in 1854. The Committee on the Indian Civil Services. Okay, the Charter of Act of 1853 also introduced the local representation in the Indian Legislative Council. Of the six new legislative members of the council, four members were appointed by the local provincial government of the Madras, Bombay, Bengal, and Agra. Here the rule of company ends now. Now the rule of crown starts from the 1858. The Government of India Act 1858. The Revolt of 1857 led to this Act 1858, also called the Act for the Good Government of India. East India Company abolished, obviously, power transfer to the Crown. Governor General becomes Viceroy, and the first Viceroy was Lord Canning. The Board of Control and the Code of Directors were also abolished. Office of Secretary of State for India is created. 15 members Council of India created to assist the Secretary of State. Now Indian Council Act of 1861. Beginning of Association of Indians in legislation starts. Viceroy could nominate Indians. The first nominated Indians were Raja of Banaras, Maharaja Patiala, and Sir Dinkar Rao. Legislative decentralization also begins, and legislative councils were established in Bengal 1862, North-West provinces 1862, Punjab 1866. Fourth polio system was also recognized, and it was introduced by the Lord Canning in 1859. Viceroy got power to issue ordinance during emergency, which will valid for 6 months. Now the Indian Council Act of 1892. In this act, legislative councils enlarged. Members could discuss budget, ask some questions to the executive. Indirect election introduced, but the word election was never mentioned. Indian Council Act of 1909, which was also known as Morley-Minto Reform. In this reform, the size of legislative councils was also enlarged. Indians associated with the Executive Council, and the first Indian was Satyendra Prasad Sinha, in Viceroy's Executive Council. Satyendra Prasad Sinha was a law member in Viceroy's Executive Council. Indian Council Act of 1909 introduced a separate electorate for the Muslims. Lord Minto is also known as the father of communal electorate. Morley was Secretary of State, and Minto was the Viceroy of that reform. Now, the Government of India Act 1919, also called Montagu-Chelmsford Reform. It introduced the provincial subjects divided into re- the provincial subjects were divided into resolved subjects and transferred subjects. Diarchy also introduced in these provinces. Bicameralism introduced at a center and direct election were also introduced. Separate electorate extended to Sikh, Christian Indians, Anglo-Indians and Europeans. Public Service Commission provided. Central Public Service Commission established in 1926. Provincial budget separated from the central budget. Simon Commission, which have 7 members and which are all British. Reports submitted in 1930 recommended abolishment of diarchy. Simon Commission was created to check whether the diarchy is good or bad, and after the submission of report, it recommended abolishment of diarchy. Now, Pune Pact 1932. Gandhiji's fast and die in Yerwara jail. Agreement between Congress and depressed classes. Depressed classes means scheduled classes. Joint electorate retained. Reserved seats given to the depressed classes. Now the Government of India Act 1935. The longest act ever, which includes 321 sections and 10 schedules. Proposed All India Federation, which was never came into the force. There were 3 lists which comes from the Government of India Act 1935. The lists are Federal list, Provincial list and Concurrent list. Provincial autonomy introduced. Diarchy abolished in provinces, but diarchy proposed at a center, which was also never implemented. Bicameralism in 6 provinces starts. Franchisee extended. Over 10% of the population, one franchisee. Reserve Bank of India also provided to the Indians. Federal courts established in 1973. Federal, Provincial and Joint Public Service Commission is also from the Government of India Act 1935. Now, the Indian Independence Act 1947, based on the Mountbatten Plan. It was passed in 1947. British rule ended on 15 August 1947. India and Pakistan became the dominant. Office of Viceroy also abolished. Constituent Assembly empowered to frame the Constitution. Office of Secretary of State were also abolished. Lapse of the paramountcy, which means the end of the crown sovereignty. Princely states were free to join India or Pakistan or to remain independent. Lord Mountbatten, the first Governor General of independent India. Now, here are some extra points to be remembered, like Lord Canning was the first Viceroy and who started portfolio system. Lord Morley was the Secretary of State in 1909. Lord Minto was the Viceroy of that time, and it introduced the separate electorate, father of communal election. Satyendra Sinha, the first Indian in Viceroy Executive Councils. Sir John Simon, the Simon Commission. Now the Clement Attlee announced British withdrawal.